Now, the former Auditor General, Domelevo, has lashed out at President Akufo-Addo for taking unconstitutional decisions. This follows a Supreme Court ruling declaring the action of the President in asking him to proceed on leave prior to retirement as unconstitutional. Speaking on Upfront on the JoyNews channel, Mr. Domelevo said he is happy to have been vindicated by the court.
Vindicated when the decision came. If you remember, when I wrote to the office of the president to draw the attention to the unconstitutionality or the unlawfulness of the directive from the president, I was told it's because I'm not a lawyer, I don't appreciate the law. And I'm happy that those in whose mouths, in whose bosom recite the interpretation of the constitution and the laws of the country have affirmed my position. So that makes me happy. But that is not my major cause of happiness. What makes me more happy is that from now onward, there are going to be several auditors general to come. There are going to be several presidents to come. There will not be a repeat of what happened in 2022. Any auditor general, or I believe even independent constitution office holders. That is my happiness. What was very disturbing is the fact that we were not only at the Supreme Court with the senior minister of Crow and Associates, but then I had been directed by the Supreme Court to go and look at the evidence of work done by Crow and Associates. And I was given 10 days. 5 days into that, the president said, go away, and then he appoints someone who within 24 hours confirmed that work done was satisfactory. I don't know what methodology he used. I don't want to fault him for that, but it did not sit well with me because, well, it was not my property, it is Ghana's property, but if you handled my property like that, I will not be happy. The long and short of it is that, well, today we are at a point where we know who is wrong and who is not.
Mr. Domelevo also said on that show there was an orchestrated plan to frustrate him from all angles by the board chairman of the Audit Service, Professor Edward Duajiman. He described the attack and several others as corruption fighting him throughout his stay in office on a daily basis.
Corruption was fighting me heavily. I could see corruption fighting me everywhere. Do you remember the type of audits that were commissioned and investigations commissioned? Do you remember that even Yoko was asked to interrogate procurement process that I was not part of? And even in that case, the High Court ruled to say that the behavior of Yoko was unlawful, it was arbitrary, it was, they used very unpleasant words about Yoko. It is all attempt to get me into trouble. After that, the board chairman went and engaged his friend to come and audit me, a private audit firm. I don't know what procurement method he used to come and audit me, and which was also a violation of the Constitution because the Constitution clearly said it's Parliament which will appoint auditors to audit the audit service. But then the board chairman went ahead and did all these things. So I saw corruption fighting me left and right. And the champion that they were using was the board chairman, Professor Duajiman. He was the one who holding the PS and the guns and the bullets and shooting left, right, left and center. Thank God he has not been successful.
Now, speaking on the same show, Director for Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Pompuni Asante, said even though the ruling may have been late in coming, it serves to restrain the executive from further abusing its powers.
Wrong and violation of the Constitution that was going on will be corrected and that he could stay in office, particularly given his own track record, the kinds of innovations and steps that he was taking to ensure accountability. So we wanted the matter dealt with and to restrain the president from constructively dismissing him. But that didn't happen, and then he was, pushed out of office. But we made the point that the Supreme Court needed to have a pronouncement of this case because the interpretation of the president in terms of his powers, administrative powers under the Constitution, was far-reaching if it did not have any commentary from the Supreme Court, if there was no clarification of interpretation of that particular provision of the Constitution. So this is very, very important because it's not just about the Auditor General. It's about all the independent governance institutions that are set up under the Constitution and the extent to which, the president have administrative powers over the heads of those kinds of institutions. That is what this ruling is addressing. And that's why, even though it didn't come early to protect Mr. Domelevo, it should protect others in the future.